Welcome to our Weather Impact Report, where we take a look at the top weather stories here in Georgia and around the nation. I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss. This early blast of winter has been a struggle for us here in Georgia, but we are not the only ones suffering. A blast of Arctic air swept across parts of the country early this week. Temperatures fell into single digits overnight Monday, and out west, at least one state was warning about avalanche dangers. NBC's Erin McLaughlin reports from New York.
Well, it is 12 degrees here in Poughkeepsie. Believe it or not, that's up 7 degrees from where we were earlier this morning. We are talking seriously cold temps, and it's all part of an icy blast gripping the Northeast, leaving roads slick and dangerous. City leaders in Boston yesterday outlined their plan to keep residents safe in the months ahead, with 175 pieces of snow clearing equipment in-house and 800 more on standby in the event of a larger storm. Out west, officials in Colorado are sounding the alarm, with dozens of dangerous avalanches reported in recent days, with much of the state sitting in the avalanche danger zone. The brutal weather is contributing to chaos at the airports. Yesterday, more than 6,000 flight delays piling up. All this with less than 2 weeks to go until winter officially kicks off. So make sure you bundle up. Back to you.
At least one person was killed in an early morning apartment fire in Rome, New York. And firefighters say brutal cold temperatures made their job even harder. Crews arrived to find the countryside apartments fully engulfed in flames Tuesday morning. With temperatures well below freezing, water from hoses quickly turned to ice, creating dangerous conditions and slowing efforts to control the fire. Rome's mayor confirmed one person died as a result of the fire. More than 20 residents were displaced, and the Red Cross is now assisting those impacted. Several fire departments were called in to help fight the fire, and fire officials say the frigid conditions significantly complicated firefighting operations as crews battled both the blaze and freezing water.
The water, you shut anything off for a minute and everything freezes up. The hose lines freeze up, hydrant freezes up.
Well, as winter weather roars into Minneapolis, Minnesota with snow and frigid temperatures, some apartment building residents are dealing with those brutal conditions with no heat. The building's boiler has been out for 2 months now, and officials say those types of issues are fairly common despite the timing. Gordon Severson reports.
It's been really depressing.
At the end of a long day at work, it's nice to come home to a warm place to relax. But for Charlie Tyree, his home is barely warmer than the freezing cold temps outside.
I tested yesterday, and my space heater had been on for a while at that point, and it was 47.1. We keep refrigerators at 40 degrees. We are 7 degrees hotter than a fridge.
Tyree says his apartment and nearly 20 other units inside this building in Minneapolis haven't had heat since October, and some tenants are using extreme measures to stay warm.
I'll turn the oven on and leave it on. I'll go and boil some water and just put it in a mug and hold my hands on it.
A spokesperson for the city of Minneapolis says tenants have filed several complaints and inspectors have issued 2 citations. A representative from BLVD Management says the apartment building's boiler went out and they're in the process of installing a new boiler that they had to bring in from Ohio, but they're hoping to have the heat back on by Friday. The company has given each tenant space heaters in the meantime, and they're offering financial compensation.
As of yesterday, they said we have 2 months of $150 rent credits,
which Tyree says isn't enough. He and other tenants are requesting a full rent reimbursement for the 2 months they haven't had heat, plus additional money to cover the extra cost of running space heaters to stay warm.
Especially we're supposed to get 5 inches of snow tonight. Well, that'll be in a non-heated environment for me.
Scary conditions there, and icy conditions led to a death on a highway in Wake County, North Carolina Tuesday morning. The fatal crash happened around 4:30 a.m. The North Carolina Highway Patrol confirmed that a 52-year-old woman died in the crash. She was driving a Chevrolet pickup truck and lost control of the vehicle while going over an icy bridge. The pickup then crashed into a tree, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. A passenger in the truck was taken to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. That was the most serious crash of the morning, but it was far from the only one. A Ryder box truck overturned in eastern Wake County as well. This aerial view shows the truck lying on its side across the road near the I-87 and Knightdale Boulevard interchange. A tow truck got the Ryder truck turned upright, and there were no injuries reported there, thankfully. Snow wasn't the only dangerous weather people were dealing with this week. An atmospheric river caused heavy rain and flooding across western Washington state. Residents had to deal with the impacts as some roads became impassable and rivers were expected to crest. Drew Mickelson has details.
Morning commute interrupted.
Not a very wise thing to do.
The storm turned this I-5 overpass into a bridge over the suddenly swollen Newaukum River. 5 cars got stuck, including a commercial semi. Everyone, though, made it out safely.
They had to break a window to get the guy out of that car.
Napa Vines police chief says floods are nothing new for his town, but these drivers got a refresher course on the dangers of high water.
You don't know how deep it is, you don't know how swift it is, and this is what happens. You get stuck there, and then it's a situation that you can't control.
At the same time, rescuers from Lewis County's Fire District 5 and the Sheriff's Office were called out to homes on nearby Hamilton Road. Boats and a retired military vehicle rescued 7 people and several pets from the neighborhood, surrounded by the Newaukum River. Getting in and out all day was tricky, even for those in high pickups.
Probably not the brightest idea, but we heard that it was getting pretty close to the house there, so we had to go and make sure nothing was getting ruined or nothing we could do to salvage stuff.
Chris Powell's home on Hamilton is getting renovated, so they weren't there overnight. He came back to a surprise.
Yeah, it can sneak up pretty good because when we left here last night at dark, it wasn't even cresting the river, and this morning it's like this, so it's kind of hard to tell how fast it's going to rise.
I think we got a little bit more to come, understandably.
Since we are not out of the woods, first responders are bracing for a busy week.
We're at the mercy of Mother Nature like always, so we just got to wait and see.
Days of heavy rain led to historic flooding across the state. Multiple rivers crested at above flood stage. One river was predicted to crest at more than 47 feet, which is 15 inches above the threshold for a major flooding event. Washington's governor signed a statewide emergency declaration in response to the dangerous situation, and he urged residents to take heed of evacuation warnings.
This is historic flooding. Our state has seen some big floods in our history. And anytime you have the potential and what's really being predicted of literally record-setting flooding on the Skagit River, by definition, that puts people in jeopardy. And that's why we're taking this as seriously as we are.
The National Guard was on the ground in Washington state as well, responding to the historic flooding. A drone captured video of rescues in Burlington, where floodwaters have washed out roads and damaged homes. National Guard troops are going door to door to inform residents of evacuation orders that are in place for the area. A majority of the area's rivers have reached moderate or major flood stage, and some rivers are still expected to break flow records this week. As you can see, it's been a heartbreaking week for families in Washington state, where record flooding has left entire neighborhoods underwater. While some residents are now being told they can return home if it's safe, many are coming back to devastating damage and a long road to recovery. We take you to the hardest hit areas where neighbors are helping neighbors, and other floodwaters are still a serious concern as more rain moves in.
Well, officials say people can return home if it's safe to do so, but as you can see, many areas are underwater this morning and plenty of roads are closed like this one. The water goes all the way to that house across the street there. You can see it goes right up to the front. There's probably about half a foot to a foot of water in the roadway all the way up to the house. Those low-lying areas are really seeing the worst of it from all of this flooding. Take a look at our drone video showing just how widespread and severe this has been. Roads, neighborhoods, and fields all swallowed up by flood water. Some families had to paddle through the flooded streets in kayaks, and others used them to rescue animals trapped in the water. One family we talked to was relieved to find their chickens were alive after the coop was flooded. We talked to several neighbors about how they were feeling when they saw their homes underwater.
It's heartbreaking.
Material stuff comes and goes, and everything else will be God's will.
What a week it's been for people in Skagit County. The Skagit River crested at record highs, topping out at nearly 38 feet early this week, flooding streets and neighborhoods across the valley. Evacuations are partially lifted, so if it's safe to return to your home, you're allowed to do so. That's what the county and city are both reporting this morning and saying, so they're encouraging people to get back home if you can, although some areas are obviously harder hit than others, and it's going to take a while to recover from this. Also, people are being asked to use caution because of the next round of rain that's expected in the coming days. So as people come back home and try to make sense of all this, it's been a very difficult situation here in Burlington over the last few days. In Burlington, I'm Savannah Welch, King 5 News.
Heavy rain pounding parts of Washington state created the risk of potentially deadly flooding. This might not be the last time it gets that bad in that part of the country. Studies show global climate change is leading to more extreme rain events in the Pacific Northwest. That region also consists of Oregon and Idaho. This week's record-breaking rain in Washington state has been a sign of a warming climate that's causing a particular atmospheric river to become supercharged. Several rivers in the state have already hit the major flood stage, and close to 100,000 people were impacted as the flood danger still rises. Underwater storms are aggressively melting the ice shelves of two vital Antarctic glaciers. That's according to a new study. Researchers say the swirling storms could have far-reaching implications for rising sea levels. One of the glaciers in question is Pine Island Glacier. The other is Thwaites Glacier, known as the Doomsday Glacier because of the devastating impact its demise would have on global sea level rise. Over the past few decades, these icy giants have experienced rapid melting driven by warming ocean water. The study was published in the journal Nature Geosciences. Its author says it's the first to systematically analyze how the ocean is melting ice shelves over just hours and days rather than seasons or years. Well, that's it for this week's weather impact report. From record flooding fueled by atmospheric rivers in Washington to an early taste of winter and brutally cold temperatures along the East Coast. The extremes were hard to miss. As seasons shift and weather patterns turn more volatile, staying prepared makes all the difference. Keep checking your local forecast and take care in these conditions and look out for one another. I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss. Stay safe and stay warm out there.